in some regards, it's been nice to have time, because I was like overworking myself like crazy before all this stuff happened. And I think we talked about that too. And I know you can relate. But I was just kind of I was never home. I was teaching at 3 different places. I was gigging like 4 nights a week and driving like an hour to gigs, an hour and back. And so now, and I didn't have a lot of time to do anything creative, or I had very little time. I had to like really like schedule in every single 30-minute block of time each day. Like, okay, well, I have like this, I can wake up at 8, and then I can practice for like an hour and a half, and then I have to prep for my class, and then I have to drive. And so now I have plenty. So it's a little weird, because now it's the total opposite side of the spectrum. Now I have all day. I don't have any commit. I'm not driving to any gigs. All my summer class, or my fall class, no, my spring classes are all done, right? So I submitted grades for all the colleges. So in some regards, it's like, okay, now I have time for projects and for practicing stuff. And so I've been trying to do, a good job of that. But also it's just mentally, and I'm sure everyone can relate, but being quarantined, it affects you a lot. Like, there's some days where you're just kind of depressed, you're by yourself, or you're just like staying inside all day. You haven't like had any really interactions with other than like the people that are in your house and stuff. And so sometimes having just a lot of time and not being able to leave sort of stifles things as far as your like mood and creativity. But so right now I'm trying to balance, coming up with some kind of routine, right? So for me, I function really well with like a routine. So, okay, before it was like, these days I have these gigs, or these days I'm teaching this class, or I'm driving here, so I can kind of schedule things around it. And now it's sort of just like, like tacit. June,
right?
It's just like, nothing. So now it's trying to kind of build in things like, okay, in the morning I'm going to wake up, I'm going to practice like this, I'm going to try to like do these Zoom hangs with friends like once a week or twice a week. So I have like little things that I can like look forward to, or kind of depend on, like schedule, right? Instead of just everything being open and you're kind of, wandering around aimlessly. So it's been a challenge. So back to your question, it's been a challenge, but I think, I'm finding ways to where I'm able to sort of adapt and do it. Like I'm able to now, I'm doing things that I didn't have time for before. So I've been working on like some classical pieces of Chopin and stuff. I've been transcribing some solo, I'm trying to like kind of hang with friends and do it. I kind of peer pressure my friend Hayden to learn this Hank Mobley transcription, and we're like zooming once a week and be like, hey, okay, did you learn it? Like, let's play it for each other. And my buddy Andy Lagermus, who right, from FSU, we've been doing he's a super talented classical pianist, and so we'll get together and play stuff for each other. And it's been getting me to like, I've been working on the Chopin piece for like a month now. It's super hard, but I'll get, I can get it and play it for him, and it'll give me little things to work on. Those little things help, like having social interactions, because if you're just by yourself practicing alone and you don't really have a goal, or you don't have something you're working towards, like a concert or a project, it can get kind of tough. So I'm trying to give myself those little things, even if it's just meeting with a friend on Zoom and playing for them. But yeah, it's a challenge, but I'm, slowly figuring out what works for me.
So in terms of that, like, and I want to get into the music side of it in just a bit, but, I like to kind of do the talking in the forefront.
Yeah.
You mentioned how, you're trying to keep yourself busy, and you're trying to stay sane, and you're trying to, tell yourself like, okay, I can mentally get through this with me being still and not gigging and not out performing or getting ready for a gig or preparation for a show or concert, etc. How do you feel about the current state of music now that everything has gone remotely online, and we're now switching over to now the virtual world of performing versus live performances, like like virtual world of performing versus live performances. So like, where do you think the impact has come in now in the state of music with us switching on to online? And do you think this will become the new wave of performing for musicians? Because this is effectively, this is affecting every single self-employed musician currently.
Yeah. Well, I think sort of inherently like freelance musicians, and I think especially jazz musicians, right? We're really good at improvising and adapting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like, and I know you can relate to this too, but for a really long time, you know, a lot, even now, even as like an adjunct professor, even though I'm a, you know, I'm a doctor, have a doctorate, and I'm a music professor
Mm-hmm.
at some really nice schools. It's still, you know, as a musician, you don't get a lot of stability, or you're always used to like having to adapt and change things on the fly, or have a backup plan, or try to think of new things. Like I remember when we were, you know, in our group together, and you know, trying to think like, what can we do next, what, you know, how can we do this, how are we going to promote this, what's a new project we can do. And so I think musicians are pretty good at adapt, and they have been, right? So now you see
Mm-hmm.
like you've come up with this cool show, like webinars, you see a lot of these things popping up, you see virtual concerts popping up. So I think just because we always have to do this kind of thing, musicians are, it's hard, it's not easy, but it's just sort of we're sort of forced to have to constantly adapt. And um, you know, for the most part, you don't get a lot of like super cushy jobs where you can just sort of, you know, lay back and be like, okay, I'm set. Like I know like for the next year or two, I know exactly what my schedule is going to be like. I know exactly what my income is going to be like. For me and most gigging musicians, or every gigging musician, it's different. It fluctuates all the time. And so now, obviously, things are very, very bad. And moving to the online thing, I think it's sort of, I mean, it's sort of the only option, or only safe option right now. So I think in a lot of ways it's good, because you're getting a lot of really really cool, innovative, and creative things coming out of it, right? So you have, like, just the other day, my mom sent me a link, but Tallahassee Symphony Orchestra Jazz Orchestra did this concert, and it's like I got to see like Leon Anderson and Bill Peterson and Brian Hall and like Scotty Barnhart, David Detweiler, all these guys play. They're playing at the Moon, and it was like this virtual concert, and it was super, super well done, like really great videography, and the sound sounded really nice. And that stuff, like, I don't think they would ever live stream, you know, on like TV, on like, it was like one of the local stations, and then live streaming like really high quality. Like, I don't think that stuff has really happened before, but now we're forced to do things like that. And I'm hoping like once things get better, you'll still have these things will still exist. They won't just go away once live performances go back. But I think, so in some ways it's good, because you're able to maybe collaborate with people you weren't necessarily going to collaborate with before. So people that live in different cities and across the country, because everything's online now. So in some ways that's kind of nice. But obviously one of my favorite things about performing is like performing in you have that that live atmosphere where you're like, it's very organic, and like I can see, you know, like if we're playing together, you're playing bass and I'm like looking right at you. And there's like that live energy, and you have the live audience, and you're feeding off that. And obviously I think gigging musicians really miss that. So it's sort of just the way it is right now. I mean, I think it's for the best, because a lot of my favorite venues to play at were, you know, everyone's like really, it's very intimate. So everyone's really close to each other and stuff. And so all the things I really liked about, not all the things, but a lot of the things I liked about live performances are sort of things that you want to stay away from now, like playing where everyone's like, you know, listening, and they're really close, and you know, very intimate and stuff. Now, you know, I wouldn't want to do a concert where like everyone's crammed together, we're all in one room, you know, with like 50 or 75 or 100 people or whatever. So I
Right.
don't know. We'll see how things go, but I think a lot of good things are coming out of it, just because we sort of have to. And this is like not talking, you know, obviously the financial stuff is a whole nother subject, but as far as just music is concerned and creativity, I think there are some good things. And I guess maybe I'm trying to focus on the good things just to stay positive, right? Because there's a lot of negative things you could focus on too. And there are plenty of
Mm-hmm.
negative things going on as well. But for me, I'm trying to focus on the positive things, and seeing like what things I can take from this, and like kind of the silver lining, like what things maybe I would never have done before can I start to do now. And just like you, like this show, like interviewing people, and it's giving you a chance to like reach out to people. And I think you have like really cool projects like this, and a lot of other my friends are doing coming out of this.
Yeah, man. And so, you know, it's funny you say like coming out of making a situation happen for yourself outside of what you're normally used to. And for me, you know, coming up with this idea, I mean, for those that are watching, especially on Facebook Live, I have two small children, so it's very difficult to do anything, work, any kind of anything when you have two small toddlers, running around. And I thought this is the most harmless thing that I can possibly do, that I can still function with my kids still doing something else where I don't have to stop exactly what I'm doing, But
Yeah.
at the same time, it forced me as a musician to think out of the box. Like, I would have never done this before all this happened, and this wasn't even on my radar. So,
Sure.
you're right. It's in a way, it's still, obviously it's not still, it is a bad situation that we're in, but the good thing is that we have all rallied together to try to think of ways to keep life moving forward. And so with that being said, the theme of this show particularly is the Soul Hour. And so I had where all this ties in, everyone, is that I have all of my guests pick three records, any kind of record, just a record that has a soul feel to them. And I gave them three words that is relatable in the current state that we are in America and around the globe. Life, freedom, and perseverance. Those three words stuck out to me. I pray a lot, and those three words were words that just kept popping up, and I felt that life is at a standstill right now with COVID-19 putting kind of a freeze on everything that was used to be normal to us. We feel kind of in captive because we're quarantined in our homes, and people are not able to go outside and interact with each other in groups larger than 10. And we are trying to persevere through this pandemic. And yet it is so freshly new to everyone that no one knows what to do. So we are all learning. It's a big learning curve for everybody. And I think, as scary as that is, I'm not fearful of that, because it kind of pushes and it helps human beings evolve and revolutionize things that we could not have done before. So the soul music, the records that I have my guests pick are records and music that I want them to explain to the audience, how is this intangible to what we are dealing with currently. So Zach, I'm going to go ahead and start with the first song that that you sent me. And Zach sent me his first song by actually it's originally by Sam Cooke. It's entitled "A Change Is Gonna Come," but this version was highly popularized by Otis Redding. Comes off of his album Otis Redding Sings Soul. And I believe the record came out. When did the record come out? Back in '64. And Zach, I'm gonna play a little bit for the audience so they can hear it, and then I want you to kind of give a feedback on why you chose this song. And everybody, Zach chose. Let's see, he chose freedom. That was his word, freedom, for this particular song. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my. Let me do this here. Okay. And, oh, here we go, everybody. Oh, here we go. I found it. Stretch this out. So, still new to this, everybody. So please forgive. Okay, here we go.
Gotta come now. Ooh, yes it is. Oh, man. a long time coming. I know, change has gotta come. Oh, yes, it is.
So Zach, you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, man. So a change is going to come. A change is going to come. Explain that to the folks. Explain it to people. You chose the word freedom. How does freedom ties in with this particular song, and how does this song relate to how you feel about the current state?
Well, first, I mean, all these songs I just love listening to. Otis Red. I mean, all the guys I picked are like some of my favorite singers, and this music, this album and a lot of Otis Redding stuff is just like super raw sounding. It just sounds very, very organic and very like from the heart. And I love the lyrics and kind of everything about the song I really like. But is, you know, regarding freedom, right now, you know, there's been a big change in the whole world, the whole country, everyone's everyday lives. And so for me, you know, and this is sort of like a combination of maybe like freedom and hope, right? That hoping that a positive change is going to come, right? That's the sort of message that things are going to get better, or they need to get better. So for me, you know, our current situation is sort of everyone is, you know, with the health, you know, physical and mental health, and also just like, you know, how the country's so divided politically with what we should do. And I mean, just in general, but it's affecting like, okay, what do we do? Are we going to reopen? Are we going to do this? Or the hope is, you know, change is going to come. Like we're going to come out of this, and there's going to be, you know, we're going to have freedom to, you know, we're not going to be trapped in our houses quarantined anymore, right? So just physical freedom, freedom to like be with people we love. Because right now, you know, if you're again, I'm not necessarily doing a lot of this stuff for my health. You know, luckily so far I'm, you know, relatively healthy person and try to stay healthy, but it's people I love and care about. You know, I don't necessarily want to go visit like my mom or someone, or something like my aunt who's in her 90s. You know, I just it's more for them in case, you know, I don't want to be responsible for someone else's if they get sick or something like that. So just having, you know, there's a hope in that a change is going to come where you can be back with people you love and care about, and without the danger of or fear of, you know, getting sick or dying or anything like that. And then also hoping, you know, as far as just like politically, you know, in the country, that people can come together and there's a freedom where we're not trapped by just like greed or hate and things like that.
Right. And you know, it's very important, Zach, to know is that music keeps us all synced together. You know, we musicians have been kind of already doing musicians have already been doing social distancing so before all this happening, you know, with the amount of gigs we do and the time we have to leave to ride to the gigs and et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, now that we have been entrapped into our homes and we're trying to find ways to stay creative, we have, you know, the freedom part is a lot more meaningful and a lot more invaluable now, because we have taken time to see where our value stands, you know, where our heart lays the most of our value at, you know what I'm saying? And so you're right, you know, we want to be free to be around our friends, our family, around other people to share our musical talents with. And so it's just very important to really engage on that sense of hope, you know, to hold on to that. So yeah, it's a good choice, man. It's a great tune. Let's jump into this next one. So the next song that Zach chose was by Ray Charles, the great Ray Charles. And this song is entitled Hard Times. And this is off the record. The Genius Sings the Blues came out in 1961. And let's hear just a little bit of this one. And we'll see. We'll get your thoughts on that as well. Turn this up. For those that's watching this right now, this man said, when you don't know what hard times is like, when you have to sell the clothes off your back just to keep a roof over your head. And there are folks out here right now currently who are furloughed, who have been laid off, who do not have a job to return to, whose jobs will never exist anymore, and are having to do things and accustomed to a new life that they were not prepared for. So this song, Zach, Perseverance, is man, that's a perfect tune for you to pick. Explain to the people your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, all these songs I love. Ray Charles is one of the all-time just greatest musicians ever. And you like the beginning part, I always like talk about music and then what the extra musical stuff, but like he's, even his voice is more like that. Like if you kept listening, and I hope you guys go back and listen to the whole thing, but he gets, he starts sort of this like more Nat King Cole kind of smooth kind of voice, like that part, and then he gets in the middle part, it gets a lot like more gravelly and like raspier and stuff, and like kind of reflects like the harshness, but it's like it's really beautiful at the same time, and he just has so much soul. And you can hear like in that song, and in a lot of these guys, you hear sort of the hard times, and a lot of these musicians went through hard times themselves, just like musicians are going through hard times now, and people all over the world and the country are going through hard times now. And for me, just hard times like this, but also personally and stuff, music has been a huge support for me, and has allowed me to sort of persevere through really tough times in my life. It's something that I lean on, or it's like a kind of a therapy for me, just to go sit down at the piano and play, or even something silly like practicing, because it's something you can control, right? I can sit there and I can play a song, or I can play a stupid scale or whatever, but I have at that moment, like I'm in control over what's happening, even though maybe I'm not in control over what's happening in the rest of the world or with my life, health, or with people I love. And so one of the things I think is really, really beautiful and powerful about music is that it can get people through, and there are a lot of things, but I think music in a big way helps a lot of people get through hard times. Just listening to music or playing, for musicians, playing music helps us through that. And this song too, the lyrics, it's this story about hard times and persevering, right? He's not saying like, I'm going to give up now. It's just like, who knows better than I, right? So he's gone through hard times. And so I think, again, sort of I take away like a message of hope as well. Hopefully, that there are hard times, but there's the hope that you're going to make it out, that we're, and for us, all of us, it's a kind of unique situation where a lot of us, the majority, are going through these hard times together in our own way. Everyone has different circumstances, but we're all going through hard times. And so, yeah, I this song was like the first one that when you sent me that list, this is the first one I thought of.
You know, in the key thing that really keeps me going through hard times is prayer. And I like that how he said, you know, before his mom passed, the one thing she told him to do is make sure you always pray. And you know, we have to be a praying nation. You know, I'm not trying to bestow or push religion on anyone, but you know, we have to rally. You know, we have to rally during this time because there's a lot of fear, there's unnecessary fear going around that people need to first just take a step back and just take a view of what's happening. And then once you can assess what's happening and then accept it, then really involve the emotional side of it. And you know, it's the persevering through hard times is what makes it's what made our nation, what makes our nation the strong and be forefront.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I
No holds
lost you.
barred.
Okay.
Oh, you got me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you froze for a
Okay.
second. Okay.
Okay. It's like no holds bar, you know. And so it's just yeah, this song alone definitely represents exactly what everything that you just said. And so to go to conclude our final song of the hour, this one needs no introduction. I think as soon as you hear the record, you're gonna understand why Zach picked this song. And this is by one of the American geniuses of BAM, how my man Nicholas Payton puts it, Black American music. This dude signified the sound of American music. He signified the times, especially this particular song, and the times that America was facing in that moment. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen here, and then we'll jump right into it. You start grooving when you hear that modulation change. He's like, oh, that make you feel different. Because first he getting you into the mood. He's like, okay, I got to get y'all invested into what the song is about. And he's like, oh, switch it. So here we go, 2-step. But Zach, what's going on, man? Marvin Gaye, what's going on now? Everybody, for those history buffs, because I'm kind of a slight little nerd when it comes to history. I like history because history is fun. It's kind of cool when you see how history shapes the rest of what the times that you live in, you know. And we all, of course, know that in the 70s, at least in the beginning of the 70s, Vietnam was still happening. Now, the height of the war, I would say, was probably like in 65, somewhere in that range, 64, 65. That's like the peak of when stuff was really bad. And then, you know, towards, you know, the 70s, that's when it was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. This is getting out of control. I mean, we pulled out, I think, a year, 2 or 3 years later afterwards. But this is getting out of control, and we was losing. I mean, he's saying mothers are crying. I mean, he telling you right off the bat what America's feeling like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And during this time period, there were so many pro-war song, pro anti-war songs that was happening, you know, with Bob Dylan. And you know, I know we had songs like The Eve of Destruction. You know, you had the fight of the Green Berets, you know, representing for the Army. There was all these different songs that was coming out. So Zach, tell us, in 2020 with COVID-19, what's going on? What do you think is going on?
Oh man, well, I mean, a lot of stuff going on, but I mean, yeah, right. I mean, it's not necessarily, you know, things are obviously, the climate is a lot different than in the 70s, with the early 70s with the Vietnam War and stuff, but a lot of I think, yeah, and I really like how you tie in the history, because I think with a lot of these songs, we grow up hearing them, and, you know, sometimes you don't even listen to the lyrics, so it's just like, oh, this song's pretty groovy, and it's not like, oh man, this is killing, it sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you listen to the songs, or you learn about the context in which the, you know, this art and music is created, and I think you gain such a I don't know, just a deeper appreciation for the music, and understand maybe a little bit more. And so you understand where it's coming from, or why, you know, why did he write this song? Why did he put the song out? Like, what's the message, other than just trying to like put out a hit record or whatever. And a lot of these songs, which make a lot of these songs classics, is that they're kind of timeless. Like, you can apply a lot of the lyrics to, I mean, you know, basically any time there's war or conflict going on. But it's, you know, there's a lot of things that still apply to now. You know, there's still people, like, you know, there's protests and pickets, you know, picket lines and stuff, and people protesting, either wanting to reopen or wanting not to reopen, and you have all this conflict and death in the country. And obviously, like I said before, we're sort of, you know, divided politically as well. So there's you know, unfortunately, a lot of the health stuff has turned political, and like people's safety, or what we should do. And you know, now there's like politics and party lines kind of involved in just public health and like our everyday life. But one thing so obviously there's all these bad, you know, it's very obvious that there's a lot of bad things happening, and a lot of strife and turmoil and things like that going on. But you know, with a lot of these songs, I like the message that, you know, there's like, one of the lyrics is like, love conquers hate, and it's got a message of love as well, right? So it's not just social critique saying like, oh man, things are really bad, right? Because anybody can say that. But it's you know, offering like a solution, and you know, and like a positive message of love, and you know, coming together, and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, so this was the one I picked for, I think, life, right? And so just sort of what we're going now, like what's going on. A lot of us are, you know, this is a very, very unique situation that the country's in, and I think basically for anyone's lifetime, you know, definitely mine. I mean, there's nothing like this that's happened since I've been alive. And so, yeah, it's like, well, what's going on? And then also, like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna react? We talked about that a little bit before, like with the music, like how musicians are reacting to what's going on and things. So yeah, I think this, I really, you know, this is another one that came to mind pretty quickly with what, you know, your three words you gave me as sort of the parameters of this, the show, right? So what's going on with just the current climate of our country and the world, politically, but also mentally, you know, each of us mentally and stuff too. And I like the idea of hope and like love, using that as a solution, right? And a lot of musicians and creative artists, is hopefully, you know, we're using our art, our music to hopefully positively impact the world, you know, adding to like the good things in people's life, right? We're providing something like that people like beauty and things that people can enjoy, right? When there's all this hate and turmoil and things like that. So one of the, like I said before, one of the things I love about music is hopefully, you know, there's all these things kind of roaming around in the universe, and hopefully like all the things we're doing, like the music and stuff, we're, you know, putting like positivity and like hope and love and things like that in there, while obviously there's other people are putting, you know, hate and fear and greed and things like that.
Right. Man, I frequently ask myself, you know, and I want to ask you this question too.
Yeah.
Zach, if you in COVID-19, if you were not a musician, what would you be doing right now? What would be your career?
Specifically in COVID-19 or just in general?
Well, COVID-19 has stripped you from your current employment of gigging. So if you were not a musician, so I'm asking theoretically, hypothetically speaking, if you were not a musician, you know, what would you be doing currently? Like, what would be your, like, if you weren't a musician at all, and we were living in the COVID-19 pandemic currently, like what would have been your occupation before this, and what would you be doing currently?
Oh man, that's good. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I grew up kind of, I don't know if this would really be, I don't know how I wouldn't be able to do this in Miami, but growing up like way out in the country, you know, like on a farm, kind of like a little farm, I would, I love, like Nikki and I have a big garden in our backyard and stuff. So we've been doing a lot of gardening. So I like getting my hands dirty and like working outside and stuff. So I don't know, I could see myself doing something like farming or gardening, or like my buddy Jesse and Tyler and the Rices, they've got their restaurant, but it's got like a big farm attached to it, like a farm to table kind of thing. And I would really love doing that kind of thing, because one, there's something with music. I love music, but there's, you know, some things that are a little intangible about it. But with like physical labor, sometimes it's nice. It's very gratifying. Sometimes you work hard all day, and at the end of the day, you can like see you have a thing that you did, right? So you've got all these plants you planted that weren't there 12 hours ago or something, or you do this and you have work that wasn't done, and you can actually see like, okay, I did this thing, right? And there's this gratification. Whereas music, you know, you practice, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours a day for like a month, and then there's not, you know, you're a little bit better, you know, or whatever. But so yeah, maybe, you know, something with that, maybe farming or something like that. If I could, you know, I wouldn't be able to do that in Miami, but maybe up in Tallahassee or something, out in Stop Choppy.
Okay, so we got a couple of questions. So on Facebook Live, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, please type in your questions. We do have a mediator who's going to relate the questions back to me, and then I'll ask Zach. But if you have any questions, please type in your questions in the comment box, and I'll go ahead and ask Zach. And please let the questions start coming in. I like having the audience ask questions, because you guys ask some funny questions sometimes. So we're gonna start with the first one. The first question is from James. Zach, are you still growing shiitake mushrooms? And if not, why not?
No, I'm not right now, but I've thought about it. It's just so a few reasons. I guess one, it's a lot of work, but also I'd have to, like, you have these mushroom sheds you sort of have to build. So mushrooms grow in really damp, like dark spaces, right? So I have to build like a little mushroom shed with shade cloth, and then I have to find logs. I have to get some like oak logs and cut those down and drill holes in them and buy
too much.
Buy mushroom spawn. But actually, I talked to my buddy Jesse about it, and I could buy some. And next time I'm in Tallahassee, I can maybe buy some logs from him and bring them down to Miami. So that I might, but I don't have a truck is another thing. So I just have a car. So
okay,
not right now. Maybe in the future I can maybe convince Nikki to do it. Put her to work. Okay.
Okay. All right, and then the second question is from Sarah Mitchell. What's one of your funniest memories from the FSU practice rooms? I'm curious to know that too.
Oh man, from the FSU practice rooms. Let's see. Funniest memories. Man, I feel like, well, I'm thinking back just, so there were like two eras, right? When we were in grad school, we had that, there's the like TA kind of hallway down the basement. And then when I was in undergrad, I was mostly up in KMU in the like the fourth floor. The funniest things, for some reason, it's not super funny, but one of the things that just like sticks out to me is when we, and you probably remember this too, but just like walking into that TA hallway and it like always smelled like people would had like one of the TAs had like a microwave in their office, and they like cook this food and the whole hallway would smell like just like kind of gross, like Chef Boyardee kind of smell or whatever, like almost every day. I don't know, do you remember that? Do you remember that like nasty smell? I remember that, but also going through like some of those drum, there was like that one room that just had a ton of drum stuff in it, and like going through and people just like leave all their stuff there and like just take things like, oh shoot, there's an extra piano bench here or whatever, and just like finding random stuff. But I'm trying to think if there's anything that crazy that happened in the practice room. I mean, because normally I was just like practicing, you know, and in the room. But I'm just thinking like when we were all hanging out in the TA stuff, like hanging out in that hall together and like just sort of hanging and joking around. If I think of something specific, I'll let you know. But that, I just remember that kind of weird smell going on in the TA hallway.
Oh man, you know it's crazy. I have a really quick story about that too. I remember in grad school one time, one of the drummers was cooking some Thai food, and then they left it in front of their door. And we already know that basement already smelled. It already had a smell in there already. So it was like the combination of mold, black mold smell with Thai food. And I just remember me and Sam walking into the hall, and it just smelled like an internal fart that just would never go away. for like 2 weeks. It got worse and worse, and we finally had to go and complain to the maintenance, and was like, can someone please get the stench out of this hall? And the guy simply said it, and it was so funny. He's like, well, if it's been here already, it's not going away. It's not gonna
nice.
This smells like that is like the rural traditions that I missed and loved about the FSU practice rooms. Like I missed that.
Yeah, and just again, just like it's just funny thinking about like how like what the normal was. So like, you know, we had like our offices. They were just like these tiny little windowless practice rooms. But I remember like, having rehearsals in general. But like me and you and Miles would rehearse pretty regularly, and like because Gerald and I shared I shared a room with one of the drum TA. So there's a drum set in my office and like a piano, and it was just like super crammed. And I remember like just having rehearsals in there, like basically we're in this like closet sized room, and there's like a piano, like I'm here on a piano, there's like a drum set back there, and then like you're like squeezed in like right behind me, and like just play, like getting together and rehearsing basically like in a tiny closet. And that was just like, it was normal. But I just remember like having to like, I had to like leave the room, and then you had to like walk in and set up, and then I could come in. Like we couldn't like close it was a weird thing. Like we had to like strategically plan it where we could like close the door and like all fit in the room together to like rehearse. It was just we did it like once or twice a week.
All right, so we got some more questions coming in. Another one is for those of us who play piano and love jazz but struggle to correctly play those thick, luscious jazz chords. Are there any cheats you use to still get a delicious sound without memorizing all of the flat nines, the sharp 13s, etc.?
I don't know if there's a shortcut. It's sort of, to me, I mean, everyone learns differently. So when I'm teaching like piano lessons and stuff with piano and jazz, obviously there's kind of, it can be good and bad, you know, because it's a lot to think about, like a lot of theory, and it has nothing to do with piano necessarily, but just like a lot of theory stuff you have to think of. But I mean, for me, music is, I associate kind of, and I compare it to like a language. So it's sort of, I don't think there's a lot of cheats, shortcuts. I think there's really like healthy practice habits you can have, but it's just like learning a language. It's like, how can I be fluent in Spanish without practicing Spanish? Or like, how can I be fluent in French without like listening to people speak French? So for me, like listening is a good, like, if you can figure out what other people are doing, that's a shortcut, because now you have like, okay, this is a chord like Bill Evans played or something. You can kind of figure that stuff out, or find like maybe transcriptions other people have already done. And then you can figure out like, why does it sound good? Because I think you can learn, like I can just plop you down on piano and say, play these notes, now play these notes, and just memorize this and memorize this. And you can do it and it'll sound really cool. But you might not necessarily like know what, like you're just learning it by rote. You're not really understanding. So just like if somebody taught me like 2 words in Japanese and I just memorized those 2 words, but I have no idea, I know nothing about the language. It's sort of the same thing. So you can kind of have like cheat sheets, where you just like look at something and play it. But I think really one of the cool things that I enjoyed, like while learning jazz, it really allowed me to also just learn how music works. So like how I can build these chords and why this sounds good. But I mean, once you learn all the theory stuff, I'm not thinking about the flat 9s and flat 13s and all that stuff when I'm playing. I'm thinking of just like sounds and shapes. So you get, one of the shortcuts is just like muscle memory, right? So you learn these chords, and you might like learn the theory stuff or how to build them, but then you practice it and you just learn the shape. So you're just thinking, okay, it's these 6 notes. You just think of that chord as like one thing instead of 6 notes. So kind of, but I think there's just like healthy practice habits you can do, and just listening, I think is a really big one, and copying people who are really good, right? So like if you can go watch somebody in person, or take a lesson, just like videotape someone playing chords, or read a if you can read music, see if you can find a PDF of like maybe a transcription of stuff, and that will show you sort of like, that'll jump you right towards like the theoretical stuff to like the practical stuff. So here's like them actually playing stuff, because you can get bogged down a lot with theory before you get to like music, right? And so it's a weird balance when I'm teaching lessons, is try to like balance the theory stuff with like actually having fun and playing music. Cool. Any other questions? I think you're muted, Brandon.
I was still muted. I'm still learning this stuff,
Oh,
Forgive
yeah.
me. Okay. Another question. What's your best memory you've had playing with Brandon?
Oh man. No, there's a bunch. It's not like I'm trying to think of one. Well, actually, I have a bunch. I mean, Brandon and I played together a ton. Not recently, unfortunately, but we've played together a bunch, and I have a ton of really great memories from like early on to later. But actually, like, I'm just thinking recently when I went to FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast University, Brandon brought me in. I brought my band, and we did a concert for the Nasita concert series they do, and then I got to play with his big band, and we played a few gigs together, but we also did like an encore, and we did a duo in the concert hall, and that was a lot of fun, because Brandon and I haven't played together, and I just sort of started playing. He joined in, and we just kind of had like a improvised arrangement of a song we both knew pretty well, and that was a lot of fun, because it was just the two of us. It was like, I was playing a grand piano, Brandon was right there with me on stage, and I could, everyone was listening. It was like wasn't like in a bar where people are talking and stuff. It was a concert hall, like everyone was really honed into what we were doing. So that was fun. And then just like all the tours we went on, like we got to play some really cool spots, and just having the opportunity to like travel with your friends and play music and have people come hear you. And that's just a really, really nice feeling, like going to playing at Blues Alley, or like the Bop Stop, or Nighttown, or like Andy's Jazz Club and stuff. That was just a ton of fun for me. And also, like, we were still like pretty green when we were doing that, like pretty new. and so it's just exciting, like getting to go to these places that I had like always wanted to go to and getting to play at them. So all those, and then going to like early on when we played at Blake, like way back, way back in the day, went to Brandonsville High School and we got to play for them. That was a super fun concert. So yeah, man, I've got a bunch. There's a bunch of good ones.
So to the person that asked that question, Zach signed a contract back in 2009. We signed a disclosable clause within our contract as band members and friends that we can never disclose to any tour mishaps that might have occurred. So anyone that might try to pry that out of Zach, he knows he can never reveal. It's one thing you probably never get out of him. Okay, so we got actually we got a couple more. They're still coming in. What was your favorite memory in Copenhagen when you went over there a couple of years back?
Oh, yeah, I went to Copenhagen right before in 2015. It was right after I graduated Florida State before I moved to Miami, and I timed it. I got my sister Amber lived there at the time with her family, so we stayed there for like 2 weeks. My mom and I went, and I timed it with the Copenhagen Jazz Festival. So I got to bike around the whole, which is a beautiful city, and you can bike around the whole place. So and the Jazz Festival is basically scattered throughout the whole city. There's stuff there like all day long, like for like 14 days or something. And so I would just bike around and get to see the city and like go to jazz clubs and like go during the day or go at night, and just got to like kind of explore the whole city. But then also at the same time, so I got all this cool music stuff and jazz stuff. But then at the same time, I got to hang out with my mom and my family, which was really, really fun. And my buddy Frank, who was living over, he even met me in Copenhagen. I got to see him. I hadn't seen him in years. So that was an awesome trip, because just being able to bike around the beautiful city of Copenhagen and getting to see I got to see Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock play together. I got to see Brad Mehldau trio. I got to meet Brad Mehldau and talk to him. I saw like Kenny Barron, Aaron Parks, Jason Moran. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. And a lot of those guys for the first time. I never seen them play live. So the whole time I had an awesome time just spending time with my family, and then getting to hear a lot of good music and like explore the city.
Good. So we have one more. Yeah, if you guys hear the screaming in the background, it's my baby.
Daddy
it's my
duty.
baby boy, Daddy duty. One last question here. What's something new that you're working on or have recently worked on that you'd like for us to check out?
Oh yeah. So I'm starting up. So a few weeks ago, actually, I did like a virtual concert with Nikki and my roommate Miles. We've been learning a lot of this new technology stuff. I got some nice mics. I've been working on my home studio, so I bought 2 really nice mics for the piano, so I could start doing some virtual concerts and things like that. So we're gonna start. I don't have it scheduled yet, but I want to start doing like a weekly or bi-weekly concert, virtual concert. I'm thinking maybe like a jazz brunch thing on Sunday or something, because I have family. My sister Amber and them, they live in Mozambique, so like the time zone stuff. So we could do something early in the day so they could see, but also people, wherever, and people who aren't working maybe on Sundays can see. And Nikki's family, they work during the week, so I'm thinking about doing something like that, and also just something for the roommates to kind of do for fun. But also I'm going to start sort of a webinar series, like similar to what you're doing, but where it's not a performance-based thing, but more of like again, for me, just a project to keep me sane and give me like deadlines, where I'm going to like talk about different albums. It's going to be called Inside the Album. I'm going to like come up with a logo and stuff, but I'm going to be kind of a not super nerdy music analytical thing, but also it's going to kind of be a mix between just talking about an album I really like and going through like the history and the personnel and the songs, listening to some of them, but then also going in and maybe like I'll transcribe some of the solo or some of the melodies and post like the album a week before so people can listen to it, and then talk about it, analyze it, talk about stuff I like, and then open up for questions, like people who have listened to it, maybe talk about it, bring special guests on. So like when I do some Ray Brown stuff, I'll get you on, get an expert bassist. But yeah, those are probably, I'm going to start, actually, I'm going to try, you think I'm going to try sharing this thing with my info. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah, so I don't know if people can see. So I've got my Instagram and Facebook thing down there. So if you guys are interested, follow me, on social media. I'm going to start putting stuff on YouTube as well. But just like I said, I've been working on a lot of classical music as well, and some arrangements. I've done a lot of solo piano stuff because I'm by myself. So I'm going to start posting some stuff on social media. I haven't really done a lot of videos in the past, but I wanted to like work up some material first so I feel comfortable doing it, but then also get some mics and interfaces and stuff so it'll sound good when I do. So I probably in the next like 2 weeks, I'll start posting some videos, like some transcription, some educational stuff, but also just some performance things. So kind of a short answer is one, like virtual concerts, maybe like a bi-weekly or weekly thing, like just short, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And then kind of like a podcast webinar thing, little, music nerd kind of thing where I talk about, cause Brandon knows, but I have like 1,000 like physical, like jazz CD albums. So I have like a ton. I really like, buying these albums and like listening to hard copies or whatever. So I want to kind of talk about, ones that I like, and also hopefully get people to like check out albums and maybe support musicians as well.
Nice. Okay. Well, man, I think we got some lag here, but man, Zach, it's been a pleasure, man, chatting with you. You always wonderful to talk to, man. We talk all the time, and me and Zach can talk each other's ears off because we just got so much to talk about. But man, bro, thank you for being my second guest on my webinar show, Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. Next week, everyone, I will be joined by the great Florida-based jazz trio La Lucha. These guys are incredible, killing, coming out of the Bay Area, Tampa Bay area. I've known these guys for years. I think Zach and I met them back in 2012, 11, 12, one of them, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. I can't remember when we had met them.
Yeah, when we played in Tampa.
We've known them for a long time, and so they'll be my special guests for next week's for my third episode. Guys, if you enjoy this web series, please follow me on Facebook at Brandon Robertson Music. Follow me on Instagram at Brandon Robertson Music. Also, my YouTube channel where I'll be posting these videos up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brandon Robertson Music. Also, check out my website, www.brandonrobertsonmusic.com. Everything is Brandon Robertson Music. That's right. Zach, you want to let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. And man, yeah, Zach, thanks for having me. This is great. So my Instagram, I shared it earlier, but it's just Zach Bartholomew Music, at Zach Bartholomew Music for my Instagram. Facebook, it's just, if you search Zach Bartholomew Music, or if it's facebook.com/ZBJazz. And then my YouTube channel, if you search my name, Zach Bartholomew, you'll find my channel. So yeah, and again, yeah, I'm going to be starting to post some things on there on my YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So follow me there, please. And I'm going to hopefully, if you're interested in checking out some of the projects and some of my music, I'll be posting a lot more stuff in the next month or so.
All right. Well, that concludes today's episode of Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. Everyone enjoy your Tuesday afternoon. I'll be back next Tuesday at 12 p.m. If for those of you who have been watching, I'd love to get some feedback. Let me know what you guys think, what you liked, what you didn't like. I want to make this thing better, and I want to continue to let it grow and improve it. So if you have any feedback, send me a direct message on Facebook, or you can email me at brandonrobertsonmusic.com. Again, you can email me at brandonrobertsonmusic.com. And looking forward to continuing this. And everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Zach, I'll talk to you soon, brother. And
all right, man.
Have a good one.
Thank you.